Hello everyone and welcome to another walkthrough video of an FCE exam question exercise from the fantastic flo-joe.co.uk website. If you haven't been to flo-joe.co.uk, please go ahead and visit. Plenty of resources for FCE, CAE and more English exams. And this is the second multiple choice cloze question for FCE that I've had, that I'm going to have a look at. I've had a look at one of the others already and a number of the other exercises from flo-joe.co.uk. So if you haven't already, go to my YouTube channel and check out those exercises. Okay, so a few words about the multiple choice cloze. First of all, simple really. Read through the exercise first. Get a good idea of context, find out what's going on, pay particular attention to the words around the gaps. This is very often where you're going to find your clues, and with a good knowledge of vocabulary, language structure and a little bit of luck, hopefully you'll be scoring 8 out of 8. So let's have a look at this exercise and see what the answers are. First of all, let's have a look at the example question. Most people are born with the natural ability to what stories? We can see that the answer is tell, and normally the rule is you tell somebody something, but there are some exceptions to the rule: telling stories, telling jokes, telling lies, telling the time, and so on. There's one more as well which slips my mind right now, but there are 4 or 5 exceptions to the rule of telling somebody something, and this is one of those exceptions, so to tell stories. But only a rare few have the determination to become professional authors, and even fewer have the joy of seeing their novels top the something of best-selling books. Now, if you've had a look in the media, whether it's newspapers or online, you'll see that there are a number of what we call charts for the top or the most popular books or CDs or music singles or DVDs or whatever it might be. And these are always organised in the following format: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's the first clue of getting the answer correct, because if we have a look at the answers, we can see that we've got queue, row and line. Well, queue and line are things that we talk about as regards people. So to stand in queue or in a queue, or to stand in a line. So here, those are about people, not about books. So it can't be A or D. To stand in row, these talk about things, and we would put things in row in perhaps to organise them or for some other reason, but it doesn't fit the context here, which means that the answer is, of course, list. And if you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, that is indeed a list from most popular to the 10th most popular. So here for question number 1, the answer is list. So top the list of best-selling books. Some of the world's famous crime writers have achieved the something success of all. Now if we have a look at our answers, over just above my head, you'll see that these are all superlatives: largest, greatest, highest, and prime. Well, prime is not prime isn't a superlative, but largest, greatest, and highest definitely are. So the question is one of vocabulary knowledge. Which one of these answers collocates or best fits with success? And the answer is B. You have the greatest success. You can't have large success, you can't have high success, you can't have prime success. These adjectives collocate with other nouns. Greatest, on the other hand, collocates with success. Who can deny the appeal of famous detectives like Sherlock Holmes, Miss Marple, or Hercule Poirot? Even if you haven't read the books, you will have seen them in the films or on the TV. Now, this question underlines the importance of reading past the gap to get a good idea of context, because it talks about books and then it talks about films or on TV. So the context is telling us that there are 3 ways that you can find out about these people, but the first one is in the book. But we can't say read the first book, because the collocation is not correct. It's not the correct adjective. Initial book is not an initial book. This is an incorrect collocation as well. Early book isn't correct because early isn't necessarily the first one. However, the original books is our correct answer. So you have an original format, which is books, and then you have other formats where you can see whatever it might be. So those formats might be film or on the TV or online now, I guess, in today's world. But the answer here is the original format, the first format, if you will, would be books. If you have an ambition to become the next Agatha Christie, what should you do? The best starting is to read lots of examples of crime fiction. Now, the key word here is starting, because our answer, the noun that we've got to choose, has got to collocate with starting, the point from which you start. Now, if it didn't say starting, we could say tip. So the best tip is to read lots of examples. We could say that, but we can't say starting tip. So what is the correct collocation for the point from which we start? And the correct collocation is a starting point, not a starting spot, not a starting mark, but a starting point. For question number 5, you will need a notebook to carry around with you, or even better, some loose something of paper. So what we need here is a quantifier of paper. How can we count paper, in other words? The options that we're given are strips, sheets, layers, or pieces. Now, normal context would tell us that we're not talking about little bits of paper, but we're talking about one whole piece of paper. Well, that one whole piece of paper is what we call a sheet of paper, and that's why our answer is B, sheets of paper. You could have strips of paper, you could have pieces of paper. Those quantifiers work with paper, but it doesn't fit the context. Strips and pieces talk about bits of paper. If you can imagine a page or a sheet of paper being torn up, then those little pieces would be strips or pieces of paper. Layers is completely wrong. Some sheets of paper, let's move up our answers, that you can notes on and then file into a folder. We're given 4 verbs for our answer: complete, do, fill, make. All one of these has got to collocate with notes. So, if you're writing, are you completing notes, doing notes, filling notes, or making notes? Of course, our answer is to make notes. So, if you're making notes, what you're doing is you're writing down little pieces of information. For gap number 7, after all, the most everyday situation, for example, watching a woman get a train, may be the inspiration for your first bestseller. Now, this situation here, watching a woman get a train, we've got to be careful here because with the verb get, we can put in lots and lots of prepositions. We can create many phrasal verbs from get, but we've got to pay attention to what's actually written on the exercise. So, can we say get out? We can say get out, but it would be get out of a train. And that of isn't in the text, so it's not A. Get down a train? You can get down from a train, but we don't have from in the text, so it's not B. Can you get off a train? Yes, you can. We don't need any extra words. And can you get from a train? No, you can't. You have to get down from a train. So here the only preposition that fits, the only phrasal verb that we can make is off. Now for question number 8, let me just move myself across a little bit here. There we go. And let's go back to our text. Like any good recipe, you have to know the main something of a successful novel. The key word here is recipe. if you are cooking something, if you're making something, even idiomatically, as it's the case in this instance, you have the ingredients to make that recipe. So even if you're using this in an idiomatic way, this expression in an idiomatic way like we are here, we still have to follow that idiom and use that vocabulary related to that idiom, which is why the answer is ingredients. And that's a fairly advanced language tip, and it's a mistake that lots of native speakers get wrong as well. So when you use an idiom to describe a situation and you then mix your idioms, so you then start talking about recipes, but then you start talking about elements, for example, or parts, or pieces, or sections. It doesn't fit the idiom, it doesn't work with the metaphor that you're trying to create. So if you're going to use idiomatic language, you've got to use the vocabulary in that area as well, which is why, another reason why, the answer in this case is ingredients. Okay, that didn't take long. I hope I didn't go through it too quickly. If you've got any questions at all, please leave some comments below the video and I'm happily get back to you with any questions or queries you might have. If you disagree with anything that I've said, then please leave a comment below and I'm happy to have that conversation as well. Okay, thank you very much for listening today. Remember to visit flo-joe.co.uk. If you haven't, please go along to my Facebook page and my YouTube channel and like and subscribe on those channels. And if you are studying, of course, for the FCE First or CAA Advanced, and you're studying from the Gold series, the Expert series, or the Ready For series, then I've got lots and lots of videos, lots and lots of help for you on my website. So if you haven't already, go and check it out. Okay, see you soon.